Clash Royale's recent obsession with heroes is showing. They completely forgot about evolutions and are now only releasing overpowered heroes. But this obsession needs to have its limits, because there are some cards that should absolutely never get a hero version, because it will actually break the game and make it more unplayable. So today, I'll be going through the 10 cards that should never get a hero version, starting with everyone's favorite, the Mega Knight. The Mega Knight is the mid-ladder's favorite card and the get out of jail free pass for every push. You just drop it on top of everything and it eliminates all troops and continues onto the tower. It's way too overpowered for the value he provides. But on top of that, the Mega Knight already has an evolution. So we're talking about a card that already has an evolved form that the community considers one of the most frustrating evolutions in the game. So now, imagine a hero version of this card. I tried to think about possible abilities for the Mega Knight, but all of them will make him absolutely broken. One of the only legit abilities I was able to think about is a jump on demand ability, where you press the button to make him jump and land in a certain place, dealing even more damage. Or maybe a tower targeting ability, where he ignores all troops and goes straight to the tower. But none of these sound balanced to me, and I think no ability will ever make this card balanced. The Mega Knight already counters way too many cards. Giving him a hero ability that he can use every single time he's deployed would be overkill. The problem is that there is no middle ground with a card like that. If you give the Mega Knight a hero ability that's actually useful, it becomes the most broken card in the game. But if you make the ability weak enough to keep him balanced, then what's even the point of a hero version existing? So Hero Mega Knight is definitely not something I want to see. Next, we have the Hog Rider. Now this is the most reliable win condition in Clash Royale history, and I'm not exaggerating when I say that. The 2.6 Hog Cycle deck has dominated ladder ever since the game launched. That's almost a decade of consistent dominance through every meta shift, every balance change, and every new card release. It can almost guarantee you 1 or 2 hits on the tower every time it's deployed. So now, let's talk about what a hero version would look like. A hero Hog Rider will maybe spawn 1 or 2 mini hogs that attack alongside him. Or maybe he gets a temporary shield like the one the Knight has. But the thing is, no ability will make it balanced because it's already a card that is on the edge of being overpowered. Not quite there, but not far either. The Hog Rider is already very hard to fully prevent from dealing damage. That's his entire design. Even with a building counter, he can still chip at least 1 hit. Now if the ability is defensive, like a shield, then the Hog Rider becomes unkillable on his way to the tower. Cannon and Tesla can't stop him anymore. You would need Inferno Tower or a heavy troop just to deal with the 4 Elixir card. And this is a massive Elixir disadvantage every single time. But if the ability is offensive, like a mini hog or a speed boost, then he's landing 3 or 4 hits minimum instead of 1 or 2. This is half your tower gone in 1 push. So overall, adding a hero ability to the most consistent win condition ever created is just asking for the game to fall apart. Moving on, we have the Witch. Let's start with where the Witch is right now. The base version is already a solid card that is used in many meta decks, but then the Evo Witch came out and things got ridiculous. The Evo Witch's healing ability made it incredibly hard to kill, and if you leave her on the arena longer, she overheals more than her main HP. Despite many nerfs, it is still considered one of the most powerful Evos in the entire game. Everyone has been asking for more nerfs to the card, and this is just the evolution. We're not even talking about a hero version yet. I mean, what would the ability even be? The only viable ability I could think of is increasing her skeleton spawn rate for a few seconds, flooding the arena with even more skeletons, similar to what the Skeleton King has. Or maybe when the ability is active, her skeletons become similar to the evolved version and duplicate when attacking. But all of these sound absolutely broken. This is a card that is already powerful at its base version, broken at its Evo version, and used in many decks. A hero version of the Witch will just destroy any push it encounters without even needing a support card next to her. The only real counter to the card would become Rocket or Lightning. Other than that, and you would need a whole lot more to deal with it, and it just makes it broken. Next is the Elixir Golem, and this one is different from every other card on the list because the Elixir Golem has something no other card in the game has, a built-in downside that's part of its core design. The Elixir Golem is already a low skill card that many people rely on to overwhelm the opponent, since it just costs 3 Elixir. But it has a special ability like mechanic built into it, which gives your opponent extra elixir. So it's basically a mini Evo without the cycling. Now giving a card like the Elixir Golem, which already has a unique ability, already is pretty overpowered, and already requires 0 skill to use, an even more overpowered version would make this card unbeatable. I thought about abilities for this card, but I found that the most logical one would be a buff ability. Since it's a card made entirely out of elixir, and the ability itself would cost elixir, this means in theory, you're pumping the golem with fuel, essentially feeding it. So through logic, this would make it stronger, faster, and deal more damage. Another ability could be a way to control how much elixir your opponent gets. But if the hero ability reduces the elixir your opponent gets back, then you're just playing a cheap tank with no consequences. There's no risk anymore. You drop the Elixir Golem, it tanks for your push, and your opponent only gets 2 elixir instead of 4. This essentially becomes a better giant for less elixir, and every single beatdown deck would run it. And it gets worse when you think about the decks that run Elixir Golem. These are already hyper aggressive beatdown decks that rely on overwhelming the opponent in double elixir. Batter Healer, Elite Barbarians, Electro Dragon, all cards that turn a cheap tank into an unstoppable push. Now add a hero ability that makes the Elixir Golem even tankier or more threatening, and those pushes become automatic tower damage. So hero Elixir Golem should definitely be out of the question. At first I hesitated to make this video so that I don't give any weird ideas to the Supercell dev team. But moving on, let's talk about wall breakers, because these two Elixir bombers are a nightmare to everyone in Clash Royale. The thing about wall breakers is that even their base version offer incredible damage output and are hard to be countered. Their Evo version is a straight up broken card. They cost 2 Elixir and are almost impossible to counter without a negative Elixir trade, and if they connect, the damage they deal is game changing. Without a doubt, this card is already broken, whether it's the base version or the Evo. Now add a hero version and I would be the first to quit the game. Honestly, there's no ability that I was able to think of that would make sense for a card that costs 2 Elixir, deals fireball amount of damage, and is hard to defend against without a negative trade. The only one I was realistically able to come up with is that when you press the ability button, the skeletons drop the bomb they are holding, becoming 2 normal skeletons, and then the bombs explode in the location where they dropped them. Kind of like the balloon bomb after death. This means you'll be able to use the wall breakers on defense to deal damage to incoming troops as well as distract them with the 2 remaining skeletons. That's simply broken beyond repair. Even if the ability would cost 2 Elixir, at 4 Elixir total, they would still provide way too much value every time they are played. No one needs a hero wall breakers, but then again, no one needs heroes in general to begin with. But that's just Supercell. Next, we have the Goblin Barrel and the Skeleton Barrel. I grouped these two cards together because they both share the same characteristics that already make them a nightmare to deal with in every game. Hyperbait has been dominating Clash Royale recently. It's no question that this deck type is the go-to for almost any player for easy wins, because there is no real strategy to begin with. On offense, it's a messy spam fest, and on defense, it's a cheap way to defend almost every push. These two cards also both have an OP Evo version. The Skeleton Barrel with its double barrels, double explosion damage, and the insane amount of skeletons it spawns makes it a tower down on its own for just 3 Elixir. And the Evo Goblin Barrel, although less broken, is also a double lane pressure monster. No hero ability would make any of these two cards even close to being balanced. Especially since heroes are not like Evos where you need to cycle them. It's an every time ability that you can use in every push. Giving Goblin Barrel a respawn ability like the Goblins would be broken. Giving the Skeleton Barrel any kind of ability will be broken. I think these two cards should be left alone if not even nerfed entirely. Next, we have the Royal Recruits. Now this card is tricky because it's already an oppressive card that floods both lanes in every push, and it already has an Evo version that makes them charge like a prince. But at the same time, it can be fairly easily countered by a wizard, a witch, or splash damage cards. A hero recruit's ability could maybe give the recruits their shields back after you press it, or a knight-like ability where they make all troops retarget to them. But this would make them incredibly hard to defend against. They are already an easy instant push on both lanes, and in double elixir with Royal Hogs, it's practically an army attacking in every push. Adding an ability that makes them even harder to kill would make each game against them a huge mess. Spamming 7 recruits that cannot die would most definitely break the game. Now Firecracker is also a tricky one. It's not a broken card at the moment. It's a pain to deal with and provides way too much value if left undealt with, but it's not actually broken. However, the value it gives already at its base version makes it a much more useful card than the 3 elixir it costs. Put it behind almost any push and it can clear the lane easily, especially since it attacks both ground and air. Its Evo version also gives even more value with this lasting damage effect, and given its current state, a hero Firecracker would somewhat make sense, and I probably see Supercell working towards it in the future, but that doesn't mean that I think it shouldn't happen and it will break the game. Giving a Firecracker a shield would make it harder to kill. Turning her projectiles into exploding ones would make it incredibly powerful, and especially that it's a low HP troop, so you need an ability that would make sense to be used before she is arrowed or locked away, but not too strong that it becomes broken. And to be honest, I don't think it's possible, or at least I think a hero ability would make her far too broken and give way more value than it should. And finally, we have the Miner. Now thinking about a hero Miner, I actually thought about an ability for him that would make it a bit more fun to play with, but would definitely make it broken. When you press the ability, you can send him back underground for a small duration before he pops back up. Kind of like going into hiding underground until the troops around him clear, and then he pops back up and continues chipping on the tower. Now this, of course, as fun as it sounds, would make the Miner almost impossible to deal with without either taking too much damage or spending way too much elixir. Miner on its own needs an immediate response, because if you leave him for 1 or 2 times, you'll look back at your tower and see half your HP gone. But now, with the hiding ability, this means the troops that you place to defend him will be rendered useless, and you will either have to place another counter once he pops back up, or just take the damage, and do that 2 or 3 times and your tower will be gone. So for now, I think let's leave the Miner as it is without a broken hero version. And this is my final list of 10 cards that shouldn't have a hero or the game will be broken. Knowing Supercell, I think we'll look back to this video a couple months from now, seeing 2 out of these 10 troops having broken hero versions, and I'm counting on you to bring me back in the comments. Thank you for watching and don't forget to subscribe.